Hello, everybody. I'm here in Austin, Texas, with Dr. Ivan Misner in his man cave.
This is my man cave.
Okay. Now, I have to answer a question before we get started. People have said to me, is that really his man cave? Or it looks like it's fake in the background. So I want to show you something quick. Ready? Right, here we go. Look. It's actually real. All this is real. It's actually real stuff. Real books. It's not fake. Am I off camera?
Yeah, you're on camera.
It's all real. So I want to make sure that you all do that.
Do people really ask you
yes, people said, that's not really his man cave, is it?
That is my office.
Like, that's it. So it's actually there. Now, I'm casual, so excuse my casualness today. I literally walked in about 2.5 minutes ago.
You did, from the airport.
From the airport. Just flew in, and I was like, you're going to be here on time, right? You are going to be here on time, right? And I was like, sure, we're going to be there on time.
So I just have one absolute condition.
Okay.
For doing this with you today, no kissing.
What do you mean?
You keep throwing kisses at my cheeks, and it's like really embarrassing.
Okay, so
my
wife
saw it and said, "Are you okay with that?" I'm like, "No, not really."
So just to make it sure, even if you put it there, I'm not going to do this. No matter what happens, I'm not going to do that. Okay, it's not going to happen today. Just letting you know. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to start with. We're talking today about developing referrals for our fellow BNI members. I really obviously thought it'd be great, since I was going to be down here in Texas, to do this with Ivan, because who better would know more knowledge about that than us. But let me kind of set it up a little bit. I see there's 3 terms that I hear used in BNI a lot: finding referrals for members, recognizing referrals, and developing referrals. Okay, I feel finding is one of those words that we need to throw out of BNI and not use anymore, because my definition of finding, you give me your 2 cents on this, my definition means if I say, well, in BNI, what we do for each other is we help find referrals for each other. What that means to me is that when I leave my meeting, that I'm actually going out during the week and trying to find business for my fellow members. And I think that's lovely, giver's gain term, but I think that's pixie dust world, and I don't think it exists. Meaning, I don't think people are actually trying to find business for the people in their chapter. I think they're still worried about their own businesses. Yeah. They're just not doing it enough.
I agree. Yeah, okay. Finding is probably not the word I'd use, but even more important than the referral thing, Russell just said he likes my full beard, so I just wanted to comment on that.
That is true.
Thank you, Russell. I appreciate
and just
that.
So you all know, this is real. I'm not kissing you, okay. But it is real. It's not fake. So I feel very a Sean Connery-esque thing going on here.
Yeah,
what do you
somebody
think?
said the most interesting man in the world.
I like that.
Yeah, I don't always.
The original most interesting man
the original,
in the world,
not
the guy now.
So I don't always go to networking meetings, but when I do, I prefer BNI.
Well, there you go.
Stay connected, my friends.
I think we've ended. Stay connected, my friends. I think we're done here today.
All right. Yes, I agree with you. Finding referrals. That's not a word I would use, but what I would do is I would say listen for referrals. And you've heard me talk about the language of referrals. You have to listen for the language of referrals. Right,
and I think that brings us into recognizing.
Right.
Because I think here's what I don't like about finding as well. Finding means I'm putting the responsibility on you to get me a referral, and I hate anything that takes responsibility away from ourselves. Recognizing means that I have to do my work in my weekly presentations to educate and train you and give you the tools that you need to recognize business when you're out there. So recognize those sensory cues, what somebody says, what you hear, what you see, what you taste, what you feel. So now that helps us to recognize business for people going out.
I like the sensory thing. What I talk about is, listen for the language of referrals. I can't, I need, I want, I don't know. When anybody says, hey, shut your phone off, man. When anybody says, I can't, I need, I want, I don't know, whatever they're going, I better do the same for mine. Here we go. Whatever they say next is going to be a referral for someone. And so what we want to do is listen for people as they talk, because they're constantly giving referrals and we're not paying attention. And I'll tell you a quick story. Andy Lapata, who is he's one of the world's leading experts on networking as well in the United Kingdom. Andy, we were talking about this very thing today, and he said, a few years ago, I was struggling a little bit with my business, and I just happened to share with somebody that I'm struggling, and all of a sudden, this guy who had never given me any referrals gave me 2 referrals that week.
Really?
Yeah, and it's because we're paying attention, we're listening. This is why one-to-ones are so important.
Yeah.
Those one-to-ones then bring you top of mind. And when you're top of mind, then you're listening for the I can't, I need, I want, I don't know. Because when someone says those words, if whatever they say next could be a referral for someone. So you can give someone a referral when you hear those phrases.
Yeah, and then it comes back to then, if we as members are not doing the work, and if we have directors on board listening today as well, your job is to make sure those members understand how to educate and train correctly, how to get people to recognize, to use the right language and get them to recognize when they're out there. The idea is this: when I'm out during the week, not thinking about you, not caring about you, not trying to find you business, you make me think of you. Right? I'm in a casual conversation somewhere with someone and they say, hey, you know what I need? You know what I have? You know what I don't have? Something, and they say something also, and I go, that's a referral for it. That's that light bulb we're trying to plant in people's heads every week, that light bulb of sensory cues or that language we're looking for. And all of a sudden when you're out, again, not thinking about somebody, the light bulb goes off to help them recognize. So that's the second term, is recognizing business, puts the responsibility back on us to make sure that we're setting up our members for success to help us out.
Right.
Fair way?
Yeah, absolutely. Couldn't agree more. And by the way, Arthur, you asked if I'd be willing to do a podcast with you. The answer is absolutely. Just just message me on my public Facebook page. Just get on there on the message section, send me a message on my public Facebook page. Ivan, it's facebook.com/IvanMisner.BNI founder. And we can set up, I'll give you my email and we can set up a time to take a podcast.
Can I believe I'm getting you bookings today?
Yeah, you are.
Unbelievable.
Thanks, buddy.
So Ivan
almost ready
is available for any, almost wanted to kiss me, you hear that? Ivan is available for any type of speaking gigs that you need, whatever it is, just contact FrankRaffele.com. I'm happy to manage it for him.
All right.
I get like a 10% for that.
Oh, I would so give him 10%.
Yeah.
That's lower than a speaker's fee. I'd do that in a heartbeat.
Oh yeah, I'd rip Frank off in a second. I have no problem with that.
No, you volunteer.
I know. I understand. Sure, you just took
Speaker's Bureau is 25%.
I see. So I'd be no more than 17.5%. The third term we're looking at is developing referrals. And this is what I consider developing referrals. Creating something from nothing, being the alchemist of BNI. So basically, and I think we're not doing this enough. I think every member has incredible value for other members and they don't even know it. Meaning the contacts, the connections, the leads that you have are there waiting to be developed into referrals for your fellow members, but they have to be done together.
So I love that phrase, the alchemist of BNI. So talk about that a little bit.
Okay, so if you remember what alchemy is, if we go back several hundred years,
right.
The alchemist was taking base metals and turning them into gold. That was their job when they worked for the king. Of course, they couldn't do it, by the way.
You know, you can actually.
You can? How do you do that?
It's possible. There's a scientist who did it, but it costs like 1,000 times more to do. It happened with the collidron, the thing that smashes atoms. They found that you can in fact do it, but it costs like 1,000 times more.
So it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't mean anything.
But you can do alchemy. Anyway, what you're saying is a good point.
Yeah, it's how can we, I mean, when you go around, and I think when we're doing our weekly presentations, even in our one-to-ones, sometimes that happens naturally. But I don't think we're focusing on it with the members enough. I think our members need to start focusing in contact spheres, in power teams, in one-to-ones.
Turn base metals into gold.
Exactly. Take that base metal to gold.
Take the Hadron Collider.
That's right. Yep. Okay. And that was very Sheldon-esque of you.
Thank you very much.
So just so you know, when we started this, I went to go sit here, and he said, "That's my spot. You're sitting in my spot." I don't know what that means. Just putting it out there, just to let you know.
Yeah, maybe
a little nerdy, but I'm not going to say.
No, totally. And if you don't know what Sheldon-esque is, a Big Bang Theory, just in case you don't know.
Go to BigBangTheory.com. Watch Sheldon television show. Anyway.
I saw that live, by the way. Did you know that Adam Bielek's cousin is Amy?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, those are two opposing.
We know somebody. Adam. We know somebody that is related to.
And if you had to pick one person in the world that you would say there's no way is related to that person, that would probably be it. That would be it.
Hi, Adam, in case you're watching.
Love you, man. So yeah, I think that's what I want to talk about is developing these referrals. So how do we get, I think what happens is somebody does a weekly presentation. Yeah. And I hear somebody, and the example I kind of use a lot is, okay, if I say, hey, everybody, I'm Frank Raffele of Frank's marketing firm, and right now I'm looking to work with the medical industry, and in the medical industry, I'm looking to work with hospitals, and I'm looking for Vassar Brothers Hospital, the director of marketing, her name is Jane Smith, right? So I've given you 5 levels of information there that I'm looking for, and most members go, Jane Smith. No, I don't know Jane Smith. And they're done, right? They're like, well, I don't have a referral fund. I said, no, you're not done. The job of a member is to be as specific as possible when they do a sales manager minute, but the job of the chapter is to be as creative as possible with the information they give them.
Haven't you found that people saying, well, I don't know Jane, but I know Frank or Sam in this so-and-so place that does a similar job?
I don't think it happens enough.
Really?
I don't think it happens enough. No.
Wow, okay.
I think they disqualify themselves like, well, I don't know her. And so what I do is I work back up that chain. Well, do you know Jane Smith? Do you know somebody who knows Jane Smith?
Yeah, that's
right. Okay. Do you know in the marketing department there? Do you know somebody who works in the marketing department? Right. Maybe in administrative.
And this is what I think. This is what he means in terms of not finding but developing.
Right.
So you're not just even a blind squirrel can find a nut. You're not just falling over referrals, but you're helping to develop them for people,
yep,
so that they do the same for you.
Absolutely. So I think that's, and then, so if I can't find the marketing director, then I say, okay, hospitals. Do I know somebody else who works in the hospital? Do I know somebody who could be the janitor, the custodian in the hospital? The idea is we can get inside that company and then go somewhere else. Or I don't know that hospital. I know another hospital. I know another medical center. Or you know what? I don't know anybody in any medical center, but I do know a marketing director of a contracting firm. And I'd say, sure, that'd probably be good for me too. Right? And then we start to work on how do we make that happen. We start to work on what's the conversation you have and go that way. We have to, because I have to be coached now, like I know that person, but what do I say to them? How do I start this? How do I develop it into something?
Right.
You know? So I think that's a big part of, I think, what we're missing in BNI is we're not developing these referrals. And I think that's just a treasure chest of gold that we can really do stuff with versus just waiting for the referral to happen.
Yeah, I think all too often members are members during that 90-minute meeting, and then they kind of, it falls off the radar for the rest of the week. And you got to be developing these kinds of relationships and having these kinds of conversations throughout the week. Now, what's really interesting is I get some people saying, I don't have time to do that. Okay, well, how are you building your business now? Are you happy with all the business you're getting? And by the way, I've asked that question of thousands of people and nobody ever raises their hand. So if you're not happy with the business you're getting, you got to spend time getting the business. This is spending time getting the business.
Yeah, it's about putting that time in. I think the weekly presentations, the one-to-ones, contact series, power teams, all these now work together. That if you imagine if you could sit down in your power team with 4 or 5, 6, 8 people, and you all said, okay, let's bring to the table, like, let's just start talking about, there's a little agenda you can have that you can go through that we do in our region. That's like, what are we going to talk about in terms of what sales calls have we made in the last week? What companies we're looking to go after? Who's been our past clients for the last year or two? And all of a sudden we start to mine each other's databases for each other. Now we're getting to a deeper level that's not just going to happen in the chapter. The chapter can help focus on things, but now when you put that more time in, like a one-to-one or a group-to-one, if you will, now we can get to a different level.
Yep.
So I think that's something that's really important for us to focus on. I guess for all the years, you've seen this go into different.
Go ahead.
Yeah, all this has gone to now to different countries and going around. And people see this. And I think probably some regions do it better than others. But in terms of let's say the recognizing versus the developing, do you think there's a key there to take that step to make it happen? Like, how do we get people to start just from instead of being reactive, being proactive to create a referral for somebody? Because I feel like sometimes I say to people, I think one of the biggest advantages of BNI is that we pass only qualified referrals. Yeah. I think one of the biggest disadvantages of BNI is that we only pass qualified referrals. I don't mean that we should pass less, but I mean people in their mind say, well, I don't have a qualified referral, so I can't give them anything. It's like, no. Develop a qualified referral. Think of your contacts, connections, leads. Don't put those to the side. I'm not saying start passing leads. No. What I'm saying is,
and you were one of the first people, by the way, that started talking about, because we used to call them lead slips years ago. And Frank was one of the very first people in BNI to say, you know what, why are we passing lead slips? We should be passing referral slips. And you were really one of the people that helped spearheaded us from going from calling them leads to referrals, because they really are referrals. But you can't take a lead and over time potentially convert that into a referral. And that's what you're talking about.
And do you think there's are there some key factors that get a member to start to kind of switch that mindset, do you think?
I think it's a couple of things. I think it's one, education. You got to really learn how to do this. We're not taught this in school. So going to things like member success program training, and of course I'm singing to the choir because you guys are on this Facebook Live, attending things like this, learning some of the techniques. And then doing the one-to-ones. You got to do the one-to-ones because you have to drill down and find out what that person wants, and you want to share what you want. So you want to make sure to have time to share the kinds of referrals that you're looking for and the kind of business. I just spoke to someone recently who said, well, I do these one-to-ones, but they spend 50 minutes on themselves and then, or 55 minutes, and then the last 5 minutes, they say, well, I got to run, and they take off. And I'm like, why are you not saying something? I don't know, I don't. You got to say something. As a matter of fact, one of the things that I do, or I used to do when I was doing one-to-ones for referrals, is that I would say, we're going to do a gains exchange. I'll bring mine, you bring yours.
Yep.
First 30 minutes you can do if you want, or I'll do, whichever you prefer. Yep. And I time it. And then when I hit 30 minutes, even if I was up first, when I hit 30 minutes, I was done. Yeah. So you got to plan it. Here's the bottom line to your question. You got to think through the process and then do the process. That's the way you get referrals.
Yeah, and that it's I think what you're saying there, I love the idea about the one-to-ones. It's about setting parameters, setting expectations, how we're going to do this. And what I've started saying to people in my region when I go out is, when you're doing your one-to-one, here's the phrase that I want you to have in your mind. When you're doing one-to-one, you're going to a referral commitment meeting.
Yeah,
okay?
I like that.
So my referral commitment meeting is I'm going to a one-to-one, but this is a referral commitment meeting, meaning I'm committing to, at the end of, I'm going to listen to this person. So by the end, I'm going to commit to developing referrals, at least 3 referrals I'm going to commit to try and develop for this person. So I can, as they were talking, I can start thinking about contacts, connections, leads that I have, and how I can help kind of do that type of thing. So
Russell's got a question. How early does this happen, Ivan? Could promoting this help with the first year retention? Which we talked about a number of things there. Which one are you talking about there, Russell? We'd be happy to tackle that. I don't know which one you're referring to.
I think he's referring to converting from recognizing referral to developing referral. That's my guess, because that was what you brought up there. Again, if you have a question, make sure you put it in caps. Also, as Russell, if you want to put something else in here and just clear that up for us, that'd be great. Answer this question for us quick. Have you been able to develop a referral for somebody else, or has somebody been able to develop for you? Just put a yes or no in there quick so we get an idea. Have you seen that happen where it's not just been, somebody's handed you a referral, but you've actually worked together on developing a referral for each other, at least one of you? If any of you who are listening to that, just put a yes or no in so we have an idea of that.
Okay, can I type in yes?
Yeah, go ahead. Russell said yes, that's right. About the, how do you think we help make that happen right in the first year from recognizing? How early does this happen from recognizing to developing? Can it happen in that first year?
Well, absolutely it can happen in the first year, but I don't think it happens until somebody's gone through member success program training, probably, and until somebody has started doing the one-to-ones, because I don't know how to develop Frank a referral until I know enough about Frank to be able to do that. So it takes those two things. And there's Lawrence. Hey, Lawrence, good to see you. Lawrence does a lot of videos, fantastic videos.
Bombard neutrons into platinum, geek mode.
Yeah, nice, Lawrence. Thank you.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt his flow there, but we just saw that there. So I knew that would kind of excite.
That's Sheldon-esque too.
So.
So yeah, I think it can absolutely happen in the first year. No question about it. As a matter of fact, it should happen in the first year. You may not start to actually generate the referrals, but you should start doing that in the first year for sure.
All right, that's good. And I think that's the key. So let's get another one. I had a great tip at conference this year from Ewan Sturman about helping new members focus on what their now referrals are and that we can help them get. So what they're looking. This is from Michael Kusheri. Am I saying that right?
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
So getting people to focus on what you need right now, if I'm hearing that right. And I think that's a great thing. I think it's great to kind of get people focused on what you need now. But the other part, I think, is about developing referrals. You've heard me talk about at conferences and such before about today's money versus tomorrow's money. And the problem with a lot of businesses, we're always focused on today's money. Yeah. And when we're focused on today's money, it means I'm asking for that business in the next 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. And you're giving a smaller window of opportunity for people to give you referrals. So when I start talking about tomorrow's money and developing referrals, it means I'm starting to get and close business for 90, 120 days and 150 days from now, right, in terms of that. And what ends up doing is by the time I get to 3 months from now, I say, wow, I already have 50, 60% of my sales done. Right. And if you can start to do that, you have a healthier business, because if you can say, hey, for the next 90 days, I've got 60, 70, 80% of my sales done, you're now thinking a quarter ahead at least on your marketing and such, and it makes it a lot better for everybody.
Yeah, we had a contractor who was a member of BNI, and he's still in, and he's been in for probably close to 20 years now. And he would talk about this pipeline that he had of business. And when business was tough, he had like a 1 week pipeline. So he was finishing up projects. But when business was awesome, he'd have like a 2 month pipeline. I remember I called him once and I said, I need this work done. He said, Yeah, you're out about 9 weeks. And I'm like, dude, I'm the founder. Can't you do? He's like, it's your fault, man. I'm following the program. I'm building those relationships. And so what happens when business is good, I start pushing things out further. And when business is slow, then I know that I've got at least a week or 2 or 3 weeks of work almost all the time. But it's about that long-term strategy. Yeah. By the way, I see some people that drive me crazy when their business starts really growing. They say, well, I don't have enough time now. Oh. It's like, really? Seriously?
Oh, it shivers up my spine.
Yeah, it's like, how stupid are you, really? I mean, you don't have enough time now? It's a great concept, okay? Everyone listen closely. Hire people. Hire people. That's what you do when business is booming.
Yeah, and especially when you have a business that's been grown because of the chapter. And I hear so many people say, oh, I've gotten 80, 90, 100% of my business. Now I'm so big I can't attend the meeting anymore. Wait a minute. These are the people that helped you to become successful. They helped recognize and develop referrals for you. And now that you're successful, you don't have the time for them.
Yeah.
Right?
Now, know that sometimes I don't have the time to come to the meetings means that it's code for I'm really ticked off at somebody in the chapter, but I'm going to say that. Have you ever seen that? I have. The exit interview.
You're not hinting something towards me right now.
No, not at all.
I'm just
not at all. Have you ever seen BNI's the exit interview that we have?
Yes.
I wrote that for one guy. I did. I'm not making this up. I wrote this for one guy. His name was Tim, and Tim was a printer. And Tim said, "Oh, I'm just so busy now. I need to leave." And I'm like, there's something wrong, because he knows to hire people. He was a smart guy. He was getting a lot of business. And so I wrote the exit interview, and I called him up and I said, hey, Tim, we've started doing exit interviews. He's like, really? Like, I didn't say to him, yeah, I wrote it for you, but we started doing exit interviews, and I just wanted to ask, could you tell me why you're leaving BNI? And he said, I'm really busy. Then I asked him 2 or 3 other questions. This technique I'm teaching you here is called semantic differential questioning. This is really geek.
Semantic differential questioning. What else would it be called?
Yeah, so after I asked him a couple other questions, I said, would there be any other reason why you might be leaving? And he said, no, that's I'm just really busy. So I asked him a few more questions, and then I swear this works. Then I said, if there were another reason, what would it be? And he said, oh, God, Ivan, he said, I'm ticked off with this member who owes me money, and I don't want to go there and see him every week. And I said, thank you for telling me that. And we ended up getting that other guy kicked out. But what happened was we went to the membership committee. I swear, this is a true story. And one of the membership committee people said, he owes you money? He owes me money too. So they kicked him out. So if they really say I'm too busy, then they're just a bad business person. Yeah. But oftentimes, if they say they're too busy, dig a little deeper, you'll find out that there may be another reason.
So I just like to put out there that, we have a question, but I just want to put out there that when Ivan talks about Tim, I just want to say that I did pay both those people back, and it wasn't a problem. I'm just a little embarrassed that he brought that up and he wouldn't use my name, but he called me Tim. I just want to let you know.
Yeah, that wasn't. But thanks.
So we have another question from Jean Marie, who's actually from my region.
Hey, Jean Marie.
She's one of our directors. And
great.
So let's see what you say. You've got Jean Marie says, how often should you check in with your referral partner to follow up on the progress of developing the referral?
I think that's a great question.
It is a great question.
What do you think?
I think that's, to me, I think there's going to be a life of the developing of a referral. I think it's going to be a little weighted, meaning at the beginning, it's going to be talking to that person more of what's going on.
Yeah.
But basically, it's got to be at the beginning, you're letting them know what's going on, and then each time an event happens until the referral happens, you contact.
How's that going? I would agree with that. And ideally in the relationship, you're both doing it together. So I'll be saying, here's how that is working out so far on the referral that I'm trying to get you, and you would be saying the same to me. It doesn't always happen that way, but at some point it needs to be definitely reciprocal. Yeah. Which is, by the way, one of the things I tell people when they say I haven't gotten any referrals. I'm giving this guy referrals, and I'm not getting referrals. One of the things I say is sit down with him and sit down with them and say, so you know, how'd that referral that worked out for you that I gave you 6 months ago? You know, did that turn into business? So fantastic. I'm glad. And that referral, what about that referral 3 months ago? And what about that referral last month? Oh, I'm sorry, that one didn't work out, but I gave you a referral last week. How's that look? Oh, that's great. So, and then you say, I've really enjoyed referring this business to you, and I'm getting good feedback from the people that have done business with you. How can I help you do the same for me? How can I help you give me referrals?
Okay, that's pretty smooth.
That's a tactful way.
Smooth,
it's a tactful way of saying, hey, wake up. Dude, you're not giving me referrals. I deserve them. You should give them to me too. And so you want to have that conversation, but that's a tactful way to do it.
That's better than saying, I'm going to make you an offer you can't refuse, right? No.
Well, I don't know, but that work too.
No, but I think going through, I love that. Going through the referrals, because on the other end, because a lot of times I think people forget what you've given them.
Yes.
So I think it's a great reminder, and the person's starting to feel probably guilty just when you're going through it to double check how good it is. And so, and they'll say, look, I'd love to give you more, and I love to continue this relationship and see how we could give each other more. You know,
and I don't think you make it like a threatening conversation or you know, it's a subtle guilt.
Yes.
Very subtle guilt, but don't complain to them. Just ask them, how can you help me? And you know, oftentimes I'll tell you what the answer is. The answer often is, I'm not quite sure how I need help. Okay, now it's your responsibility to help them, and you know, talk to them about what they should be looking for and how they can help you.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, look, hey guys, what I'd like you to do, if you don't mind, we're going to finish up right now. I promise you only half an hour we'd be on. I think we've covered all the questions. We'll check if there's any more that we have. But while we're doing this, if there's any, what I'd like you to do, if you will, either now or right when we finish it, please go down and what was the one greatest thing you got out of this session today? If there's one great value, please write that in there. So somebody else who sees it in a few days and going through that, well, for me, it was your beard, absolutely. And going, let me see, rub against my cheek. Come on, rub against my cheek.
No, that's okay. We have a question.
Okay, we have a question.
You're freaking me out.
We talk about educating everyone on your dream referral, as people will fill the gap if they can't find it. Ask for a week's work, and if they can't find it, they'll fill a smaller gap. What would you say your specific referral request should be worth
minimum equivalent of their turnover expectations? I have no idea what that means.
Okay, we talk about educating everyone on your dream referral, as people will fill the gap if they can't find it. Okay, I think I get that. Ask for a week's work. If they can't fill, then a smaller gap. Would you say that your specific referral request should be worth a minimum equivalent of their turnover expectations?
I think he's saying, is there a minimum size for a referral?
Yeah, and first off, yeah, I get what you're saying. But we ask people to ask for a dream referral, and sometimes they ask for something smaller because they're not getting that, and then something smaller. And what should the referral be? The referral should be a piece of business for them. And that's really what it comes down to.
Generally, especially to start with.
Yeah. And then if you want to try and get something bigger, sit down and have that one-to-one with them and say, hey, look, I'm finding you a lot of these like A, B, and C levels referrals. Like A is a smaller one. I want to get you some more B and C levels, but I just don't know how to do that. So let's talk a little more. I'd love to be able to see if I have some contacts, connections, or leads I can develop into referrals for you.
Agreed. I like it.
Okay. Good enough. Hey guys, thank you so much for joining us today. Appreciate it. Ivan, really appreciate you doing this with me.
And my pleasure. I'll put it up on my Facebook page too, and we'll get lots of likes for you. This is great stuff. We should do this more. You should come next month.
I will. Come on over. Maybe I'll try and get here more than 2 minutes ahead of time.
Literally 2 minutes before we were supposed to go on, he walked in the door.
He was just like, I'd be freaking out with you. I'd be freaking out. I was like, why? I'm just going to keep throwing stuff to you, so I'm not going to really do anything. Hey, guys, thank you so much for joining us. Take it. Hey, if you could, when this is done, take it, like it, and share it. Share it with your ambassadors, your other directors, your BNI members. Let's get it out there. Let's get as much education out there as we can so we can start developing more referrals. Great. Have a wonderful weekend.
Thanks.
Guys. Bye. Take care.